Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another SJU. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about this Christian Bale, possibly in Thor Love and Thunder news. We're going to be talking about something that we were all excited we didn't have to talk about, but looks like we're going to get into the JJ cut. We're going to talk about that Knives Out sequel, and then if we have some time, we're going to talk about some things we enjoyed over the vacation. I have got a great panel with me today. Good morning, Ed.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning, Spencer.
Ahoy, hoy.
Ahoy, hoy. Good morning, Dan.
Hello there.
Hello. Very formal. I like it.
It's my Obi-Wan. Hello there.
All right. First segment, Christian Bale in talks for Thor Love and Thunder. This is via Collider, and then it was confirmed by The Hollywood Reporter. It looks like he is in talks to join Chris Hemsworth, Marvel vs. Thor, Love and Thunder. Marvel vs. Thor? I gotta wake up.
I mean, I'd watch it. Yeah.
I'd watch that, yeah.
He's got two big hammers. So first things, are you guys all kind of shocked that Christian Bale's thinking about jumping back into superheroes, or?
Yeah. Nah,
I think money does a lot, from what I understand.
Yeah, you do one for the fans and one for you. Or in Christian Bale's case, one for dads and one for himself after Ford v Ferrari, most dad movie ever made. And like, who wouldn't want to have some fun if that is the direction that this franchise keeps going? It might not be, which I have thoughts about, but it might be a gloomier Thor than we're used to. But on its surface, who wouldn't want to be in a Taika Waititi movie?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, that seems exciting. I know that some people were speculating on who it might be. A lot of folks were saying it might be Beta Ray Bill, which is a character that clearly everyone is super knows about. And
I was so surprised that it trended on Twitter, Beta Ray Bill. I was like,
it was weird, right?
This is my dream, that everybody is like a noob and looking to me.
Bring of Thor and a horse, I believe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Thor was lonely on a planet full of horses and found out they were sentient after 5 minutes. No, okay. Long story boring. Beta Ray Bill is a champion of a race in space. Thor happened upon him and helped him to do some stuff, and through him helping Thor in his time of need, Odin decided that Beta Ray Bill was a real bad dude, because Beta Ray Bill had grabbed Thor's hammer for something, and he was worthy enough to lift it and solve some problem, and he gave it back to Thor. And from that, Odin was like, dude, you're a bad motor scooter. I really like your cut of your jibs, all kind of aphorisms from the 40s. And then he gave him his own hammer called Stormbreaker, or Stormbringer. I gave him his own hammer called Stormbringer that looks like a big, weird alien hammer. And he's a space horse from space.
He's Space Horse Thor.
To clarify, he's not part horse. He just looks.
He has a long face.
Yeah, it's
BoJack Horseman.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Dan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like how a centaur has like a horse body. This is like the opposite, where it's like kind of a horse head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Horseman, Thorsman, Norseman. Horse in so many levels.
Yeah, I heard he likes Sorry to Bother You. Anyway.
Spoiler alert. Come on. It's been 2 years.
Yeah, that's true. So
2 years.
If it's not Horse Thor, is there anyone else in Thor in the Grand Thor canon that you would want to see him play?
I don't know anyone in the Grand Thor canon.
Most people do not.
Right. Beta Ray Bill was literally the only other person, which I think may be why everyone jumped to, because no one's heard of anyone else in the Thor canon. So they're like, Beta Ray Bill, put it in a thumbnail.
But also, all of Thor's homies are dead unceremoniously in the last movie.
Yeah.
They just got shanked real quick.
Yeah, and Thor is so overpowered compared to a lot of the other Marvel heroes that his villains are like Galactus and stuff like he tends to take on the bigger cosmic threats, and I feel like we haven't quite gotten there yet with Marvel, but Taika Waititi likes space.
How many Thors can you have, though? Because we're going to have
Lady
Natalie
Thor?
Portman Thor, and we're going to have Thor, and I don't need... I'd like to see a Christian Bale villain. Because it's weird. I don't know. It's like a weird fit to me. I was really surprised to hear this. Like, Christian Bale.
It is a weird fit. And then what, gives me like inklings of like, maybe we're going in a different direction is the Jane Foster Thor plotline is about her like overcoming breast cancer. And when she has like the hammer, her chemo stops working. Like, that doesn't sound fun.
That's kind
but it does sound like something Christian Bale might do. Like a darker take on this character.
Maybe we're all thinking he's like this grand horse Thor, and he just winds up being a doctor.
Yeah,
he's like an oncologist.
Yeah,
we've got to look at your test results. He can use his real accent.
Yeah, and she starts falling in love with him, and Thor's like, dude, I've neglected you for 3 movies, but you're still supposed to be in love with me.
Right.
You know, maybe it's a love triangle.
What if he's Donald Blake? Her ex,
Oh.
whom she mentioned in the first Thor movie that she went out with a guy named Donald Blake.
That's true.
Okay.
And now, canonically, Thor is Donald Blake.
Right.
His hammer turns into a cane and stuff.
When he was just a doctor who would throw the hammer real hard and draft off the end of it instead of flying.
He has to get to different surgeries. I gotta go across town.
Yeah, it's like metavacing, except he does the metavacing.
Well, somebody said he might be a character called, I think it's Darrow or Dario. I don't know. There's some sort of more Norse crap in the comic books from more recent comic books that I haven't really read, where he's like, or he might be this dude from a thing called the God Bomb, which is basically there's a character who lives on a world and prayed to gods a whole bunch, prayed to all the gods he could think of, and the gods never came, and they shafted him, and he was just like, you know what, bro? If I ever get in a position to kill the gods, I'm gonna do it. And he did, and he became a person who like literally kills gods for a living. And that character is pretty evil, pretty powerful, and has a lot of good monologue. So I could see Christian Bale do something like that. But one thing everybody's pointing out is Christian Bale is a handsome, beautiful man. You know what I'm saying? He's probably in that strata right below the Pitts and the Robert Redfords and stuff. He's right in that milieu. So to cover him up with a bunch of Space Horse makeup is stupid.
He's not a green screen guy. I mean, he was yelling at the guy because he was walking around moving a light in his eye line, that, but that was like a real thing there. Like he was like a very visceral, in the moment kind of. I feel something more grounded seems more in his what he might be interested in as an actor.
Right. But maybe he wants a challenge. Like maybe he wants to do a goofy buddy space comedy. So
which he can do. It's not so much. I'm not saying comedy wise. I just mean like the idea of like being some kind of an effects character. I don't know.
Well, maybe this is like a cool summer camp for some of them though. Like okay, hold on, Mike. I don't have to be there. I just have to sit in a chair or whatever. Whatever the easy part of doing acting is probably the Marvel stuff. I'm sorry. I'm staring at a tennis ball is harder than staring into somebody else's eyes. I think anybody could think of that. But most of the other stuff, and he's already used to working out all the damn time.
Well, that's the thing, though. Christian Bale wanted it easy. He'd use prosthetics. Do you know how many times he's gained and lost 100 pounds in his life? Like that's the thing. Like the easy job to me doesn't seem like something Christian Bale would be interested in. He's like, what hell can I put? What fresh hell can I put myself?
Well, actually, he would have turned himself into a raccoon if he
would have had surgery to look like a horseman. If he was.
Well, somebody tweeted that they should tell him he's not playing Beta Ray Bill before he starts working out to make himself a space horse. That's on Twitter. Please research that person's tweet and like that person's tweet. That's not my joke, but it was really funny.
Yeah.
All right. So, is there anyone else kind of in the Bale, like a caliber of actor that you would want to see in a Marvel movie?
Who hasn't been in one at this point? The sad thing is like
they're gonna start coming down to like us guys. Like I'm running out of actors.
Florence Pugh, like this is where I am. I'm just like someone interesting and yeah.
Well, that's the thing is like a great actor does not necessarily make a great Marvel performance. Like they just they just like cast Glenn Close. And she's just like, go attack.
Yeah. It's like the guy DC to talk to the guy and it's like, who do we get? Glenn Close. Like great.
Yeah.
Let's have Benicio del Toro be strange near some boxes.
Right.
For a while.
So if you get, I don't know, like, has Malkovich done one of these yet? He'd be a good villain.
I don't think so, but he would be a great villain.
He's a good villain.
I mean, the Red movies are technically comic book films.
We were making Billy Bob jokes before we started shooting. He's terrifying in Fargo.
Yeah.
He could be a menacing guy with a bowl cut.
Or if they ever do any of the more grounded, if they get back to the kind of the Defenders-y characters, something that's more ground level.
I would have loved to see Steve Buscemi's rendition of Bruce Banner. I would have loved that.
All right.
I would have loved that. Actually, they kind of thought of it in the comic book version of the Ultimates, which they based all the Avengers movies on, more or less. Yeah. They were casting each other in a big scene. They were casting each other, and the one that looks like Samuel L. Jackson was like, I want to look like Sam Jackson. Nick Fury said that, and then they were thinking of who would be Bruce Banner. They said Steve Buscemi, and they turned around and Bruce Banner was right there, and he got mad and stalked off.
Yeah, that's great. All right, any other kind of Baelish thoughts or?
Peter Baelish.
Is this Welsh?
You'll never survive in Asgard. Sorry.
No, please.
I'm just free associating at this point.
But yeah, please. Thank you all so much for, this is the part where I sincerely thank you for liking and subscribing, hitting all the notifications. You hit that bell. Belled. And this is the reason why. But that's the reason why we get to do all this stuff and why we get to hang out with you every morning, why we get to do things like Power Levels, which just came out, which is Force versus Magic. We had some thoughts about that yesterday. Ed, I believe you have some thoughts about that today.
Okay, now Dan forced me into a horrific choice between the Force and Magic.
Ooh, look at that. Cheap transition.
Wow.
Stepping it up.
Wow.
Cheap transition.
I was led to the slaughter by Dan, as usual.
A wolf like me doesn't concern himself with the opinions of sheep. That's what that transition means.
What does a werewolf think? So basically, I was forced to say whether I liked Force or Magic, and then a bunch of people in the chat, my girlfriend told me, were like, Ed needs to learn about hard magic systems where blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, okay. I'm sure that there are some systems of magic that are more realistic or I could
None of them
process
are real.
them.
I'm sorry.
I said realistic. That's what the tick on the end means.
Yeah.
That's what the tick. That language does things, Spencer. So what I'm saying is, I did get into a big flame war with a bunch of people because I said Spider-Man could beat up a Jedi. And, oh my God!
What are you doing?
That's the most Ed Greer sentence I've ever heard in my life.
Oh my
He
gosh.
probably could.
He really could. I'm sorry, I don't want to go into it right now.
Well, they're really fast. They use close-up weapons, and he could hit you with projectiles from far away.
He'd taunt them. They'd get tilted.
He's
There's
no
a lot.
stormtrooper.
I mean, just tell them, hey, your girlfriend's over there. Where? I just think there are ways for the Force and Magic to both be kind of whack and to be, a little bit too amorphous, a little bit non-ruly. So I'm
just as if they're made up.
Yes. So I'm gonna watch the Power Levels and make up my mind after that.
There we go.
What's Force versus Magic, rather than just having a snap judgment.
Well, the way we do it, we constrain it to just their demonstrated feats on screen, not like canonically, not if it's in some reference manual that Ryan Johnson found for Gilbert
shelf,
or whatever.
yes.
Yeah. It's just things that have happened on screen. So if you limit it to that, the answer is very clear.
Okay.
All right.
I'll peruse that.
Very
and you
excited.
guys should too.
There we go. Thank you. I didn't have to say it. You did. Oh, also, we released our new Honest trailer for Quentin Tarantino movies, which is out now. That was a really, really fun one.
Yes.
Really excited about
Stick
that.
around for the foot song.
Yeah. If you like the feet songs.
This is going to get a lot of clicks that we were not looking for. I didn't think about that until just this second. Ooh.
We'll take them.
Yeah,
click.
Foot clicks are still clicks. Yeah.
Click with your toes, click with your fingers, doesn't matter to me.
Feet click spins. Feet money spins. And also, our Galaxy Quest documentary, Never Surrender, is out and available now. You can get that anywhere where you buy things, so not just on Apple. I believe it's also available on Amazon. So go. I know everyone's been wondering where they could check that out. You can check that out on your home computers. The link is in the description below. Segment 2. We gotta talk about the JJ cut.
Release the JJ cut.
Release the JJ cut. All right, y'all. So I'm sure some of you already know about this. One anonymous Reddit post claimed to have an inside source that convinced the internet to believe that most of the issues that a lot of people had with Rise of Skywalker come from corporate and executive overreach, and that there was a 3-hour director's version that people are now calling the Abrams
Release
cut.
the Abrams cut!
So first off, who at this table was really excited this happened over the break so we wouldn't have to talk about it?
But we're talking about it now,
Yeah,
so I'm
well,
actively not excited. If it could have happened and then we would just move on with our lives, then yes. But
No, when I saw this, I was in San Francisco having a grand old time with my extended family, and there was a camera push in as I read this story, an ominous, slow, shining-esque.
Darkness, my old friend.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I think that this and the Snyder Cut, this is a teachable moment to fans and movie fans and everyone that I think we know on some level, but it hasn't quite sunken in yet, that there's a first cut of every movie.
Yes.
Every movie gets turned in, and then the studio, or even during that first cut, it is a back and forth process of, especially when you talk about big budget, $100+ million budget studio filmmaking, you are constantly getting notes and feedback and adjusting and cutting and adding back in based on feedback from studio executives for every big budget movie, every single one of them.
Not just big budget movies. We do that for honest trailers where we'll have like a cut and then we're constantly
and then you cut it down,
away.
or then you get you do a reshoot or pickups or
release
whatever.
the Gilbert cut.
You release the Gilbert. No, they're never good.
No, but apart from that, I want to let's engage our logical thinking brains, and I want to address this one thing because this is a post. It was made on r/saltier-than-crate. Which is a Reddit forum for respectful but critical discussion of Disney Star Wars. This is one post. Now, this is a guy, their bona fides is, I have an insider that I know.
My uncle works at Nintendo. He knows Mario.
I've seen his credentials, and trust me, I know him, and this person is on the inside. But if you read into this, the thing says, because he's like, I talked to my insider, and here's why this happened. According to this insider, the reason that Disney sabotaged J.J. Abrams' version of Star Wars, I'm not making this up, was that they were angry at him and worried because he signed through his production company a deal at HBO Max, and they're worried that if JJ goes and works on DC films for HBO, that will then damage their competition for the Marvel films, and so they sabotage JJ's Star Wars movie to make him look bad.
Their own movie.
That is crazy. That's nuts. That's insane.
That doesn't really track.
Don't believe anything. Think.
They spent a lot of money on that movie, guys. They're not going to.
They're not going to sabotage.
They need Star Wars to work more than they need DC to fail.
Yeah.
That is cuckoo banana pants.
Yes.
Think for a minute. You're taking this as the truth? Stop it. What is more likely? That Disney didn't quite know what to do and brought J.J. Abrams in, who had his own vision for Star Wars. It didn't quite jibe with the last guy's vision for Star Wars. In the end, it was a little bit muddled, and it goes down to not thinking ahead. Or that there is a vast conspiracy inside of a studio to purposefully to shoot a version of a movie that JJ was happy with, and to let that version of the movie be shot and edited together, and then in a conspiracy to make him look bad because he was aligned with another studio who might make movies competitive to yours, they then retroactively went in and took the movie away and sabotaged it so that he would look bad for prospective projects that he might do for another studio. What's more likely? Let's play Occam's razor here. Sometimes movies are disappointing. It's not always a conspiracy. I don't know what to think of the Snyder Cut, because Zack Snyder seems to whatever, but this seems pretty cut and dry here. You have an unattributed source, a guy saying, trust me. This person has spent over years now like posting in this thing of not liking Disney, and comes up with this phantom source that solves the problem. It was a good movie all along, and it's Disney's fault in a subreddit that's about how these Disney Star Wars movie is Disney's fault. It's not hard to pull the thread on this thing. I understand. I want a great version of The Rise of Skywalker too. I really, really do. Nothing would make me happier. But we cannot just start jumping into whoever says something that we like and then making it reality. Because that's just not how the world works. It's not how life works. It just was kind of a disappointment to a lot of people. And we're all just gonna have to live with it and move on. There's no salvation from J.J. Abrams cut out there that's going to make us go, oh my God, I knew it. There's no Galaxy Quest moment for this. Sorry.
No, please do not be sorry. Does anyone else have any release the JJ cut? Oh, yes.
There it is. Thank you.
There it is.
It's more like a Dan plea. Is there a Dan plea graphic where I'm just like,
please think.
Yeah, make a graphic with Occam's razor with blood dripping off of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I absolutely agree with Dan. Only an idiot, frankly, would disagree with Dan on this particular point.
I'm not saying that. Ed is saying that.
I am saying that. Yeah, I will strike me down. I'll become more powerful, dorks. Now look, I just really. This is bad. This is a bad state of affairs because I was watching a TED Talk, which makes me very smart for the next 10 minutes. And what they were saying was, narrative is the ruler. Facts are not the ruler. When you look at your own life, look at your life. We're on a rock, spinning in space around a ball of fire. Our lives are too short for us to ever do anything of any value in the universe. Those are facts. But why would you run your life that way?
TED Talks and TEDx nihilism.
But for real, think about it. You got between 80 and 100 years if you eat granola all damn day and quinoa, whatever. You got between 80 and 100 years. And you see, we're still struggling with things from 500, 1,000 years ago. Problems, memes, thoughts. This Snyder Cut stuff, it's going to be year 3000. And people are going to have their wrists tied together like a Beat It video and be stabbing each other over the JJ cut or the Snyder Cut. These are problems.
I do want to see dance fighting over there.
I hope that makes a comeback in the 3000s.
I'm just saying, these are and there are problems that will last longer than anybody's lifetimes, longer than Palpatine's lifetimes. There are problems. Why do these things persist? Because we have our own narrative, because we run our lives through narrative and we decide things are facts because they mean something to us. So yeah, somebody out there listen to all that smarts that Dan just dropped and said, yeah, the shills are working really hard to save this one. That's what somebody out there said. Through all that passion and intelligence, somebody cut through that with a laser sword of dumbness and went right back to thinking what they had to think because it's in their mind that their Lego playset franchise that always was that all of a sudden has fallen apart. No. It was Lego playsets from the get-go. Play with your Legos and shut up.
I don't know what Ed was talking about. and I totally hear and understand Dan's point about the motivation is insane, frankly, from that leak. But I don't want it to be lost that like there is a kernel of truth in that there are always first cuts of movies that are different from the final product, and the studio always interferes with that cut. So yes, there is a more true or at least just longer cut of every movie. I don't want
this is how it works. There's an outlandish idea out there. This isn't just in movies. There's an outlandish idea out there. And then it's going to come out that yes, there was something that JJ shot, like with every movie, there was something that JJ shot that didn't make it into the movie that people like. And that,
like, what the hell that was doing.
And that one kernel.
He's looking at it so intensely, too, like, is it right?
Should anyone address this at any point? Nah.
That one kernel of truth, then, is going to be used to validate the entire theory.
Sure.
When, in fact, it's just... It's I don't know, whatever.
This makes me miss DVD extras because on DVD extras they would show us the deleted scenes.
Yeah. Well, if you still buy Blu-rays,
boom,
you can still get deleted scenes. Physical media will never die.
Just multiply colors.
I feel like if these kids were used to the deleted scenes and people talking about deleted scenes on commentary, then maybe we would get less of this.
But if this was really, because I think I was reading like, oh, you know, JJ thought the movie was done and finished, and then the version he saw at the premiere was like 20 minutes shorter or something like that, then that at least means, in comparison to the Snyder Cut, that like it would have been finished, and like a longer cut does really in finished form exist that they could release as a special edition.
And again, do you really think that Disney would cross J.J. Abrams, one of the biggest names creatively, when he could go out there and to everyone and say, Disney completely effed me over. Like they are the worst with the clout that he has. That they would do that. Now I'm not saying JJ was 100% happy. There are compromises that directors make with every film, but just this idea to this scale is ludicrous. It is absolutely ludicrous, and you cannot just take because you want it to be true. You cannot just believe everything you hear because you want it to be true. You can't do that. You can't.
I agree. Sorry guys. There's probably an Abrams cut, but it's fine. That's just the way that the movies work. That's why we have indies where people get to be in control of the whole thing from start to finish. All right. Next up, we have a great movie that we're going to talk about. There is going to be a Knives Out sequel. This is via THR. Rian Johnson has confirmed that he is working on ideas for.
Sorry, that transition.
No, I know.
Now let's praise Rian Johnson. That'll really get the shill folk.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm good with that. I'll take that one right on the name. But yeah, so there's going to be centering around Daniel Craig's character solving yet another crime. So Lionsgate has not officially greenlit a Knives Out sequel, but it made a bunch of money, so it could be the beginning of a new franchise. Joe Drake, chairman of Lionsgate's motion picture group, told THR at Saturday's party, that he is eager to read a script. So I've seen Knives Out. We're going to keep this spoiler free because I know I don't know if everyone here has seen it. I'm really pumped for the idea of a Knives Out sequel. I feel like this could be a good kind of anthology-esque series.
Yeah, and I fell in love with Benoit Blanc. I did not know. Daniel Craig's been in Logan Lucky, and he was really good in that. But I did not realize that and it's because he generally takes a lot of very more serious roles. I did not realize he had a comedic performance of that caliber in him. And he was the highlight of the film to me. And and Ana de Armas is fantastic in that movie. The whole cast is fantastic. But I love that character. So when I heard Knives Out sequel, I was like, oh. But then when I heard that it's not going to be a direct sequel necessarily, but you're going to take Benoit Blanc, I love that character. And I think when you talk about sequels, that's what I like, is you take a little kernel, something that people like from this movie, and then spin it into its own thing.
Yep.
I'm excited about that. I loved his performance.
Get to create more characters, put him in a different scenario.
What if Rian Johnson has him throw away his cravat in the first scene and quit detecting?
Well, and here we go again. Here we go again, baby.
Yeah. He's got one move.
But yeah, no, and you're right. I don't think that anyone else is going to be returning. I kind of hope not. Do you think that helps or hurts the movie? I feel like the people who like it are on board with it being something different. Yeah. I don't think it not having, Chris Evans or anyone else in it is going to hurt it.
He's such the centerpiece of the film that,
Yeah.
I'm worried about the title, weirdly, because it's is it going to be Knives Out 2, Knives Out 3? Or are they going to be
Knives In?
Knives In, a Benoit Blanc mystery?
It's Knives 12.
Knives 12.
Two Knives, Too Furious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a movie that made $210 million profit against its budget, getting a sequel.
Also,
News 11.
Yeah. Also, because it's something that we've talked about a lot on the channel. Is just we're missing a lot of those kind of mid, movies like this. A lot of
$40 million movie. Yeah. It's either $5 and a Prius backup camera, or it's $200 million. And it's on your McDonald's.
Yeah. So how nice is it to see something like this succeed that didn't go straight to streaming? That isn't we'll do 2 weeks in a theater and then it's going to be on a streaming platform. To see it actually work in theaters.
It's so great. I mean, it's an original murder mystery. It's a really good movie, a really funny movie. It's done well. It debuted pretty well, but the fact that it's found an audience and is continuing to find an audience. I was looking at the charts. It added theaters last weekend, and it's 6th week of release.
That's old school.
That's great. That's old school.
Yeah.
Exactly. I also think it would be the biggest troll move of all time if Rian Johnson called it Knives Out Episode 2, The Last P.I.
Yeah, there it is.
We're not going to get anything over that, so we're moving on to segment number 4. A segment titled, What'd You Watch Over the Holidays? So this is where I ask all of you guys, hey, what'd you watch over the holidays?
Well, I watched Legos, the show, a.k.a. Mandalorian, and I loved it. I loved it. I think it saves that particular franchise, which I won't name right now because I just can't say the words anymore. I think it saves that from being totally stupid forever. Because
we know how you feel about the wizards and the swords and stuff.
Yeah. But you know what? If you bang a little wizard and a dude that doesn't have no wizardry, all of a sudden I get my lone wolf and cub vibes kick in, and I just go, yeah, I'll fight for that to the death. It's a knight with a space baby. I don't care. It's awesome. It's awesome. So yeah, it just shows that you just put a little bit more effort into it. I did see a comic book anchor, a pretty famous comic book anchor, say that it was light on story, and I was like, no, baby. You're just confused. They're not talking every second to explain everything to 4-year-olds. They're just showing you things and letting you draw your own things and using mythos the way the original Star Wars movies did. Back in the days, your people wrote the mythosaur. What's a mythosaur? You don't know, and you don't need to know. You know what I mean? That little bit of mystery, that decayed world of Star Wars. When it first started out, it was, these are clearly the days after the great days. These are the days after the great days, the times of high adventure. These are the days after those. And I think that Mandalorian is just soaking in that. So me and I watched it a bunch. I watched a bunch of Mandalorian.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Spencer?
I mean, my favorite thing that I saw over break was Uncut Gems. You said Uncut Gems? Catch you. How many punches can score not catch you? God, I love that movie. It was so, like, stressful and dissonant, and I felt like I had a fever the whole time, but I loved it. And I think that's, like, the Safdie Brothers vibe now after this and Good Time. It's like, you are locked in a room with these characters, and you are not getting out till they've, like, wrung every last drop from you. It's just, it's perfect. Like, using like these stories as just like a backdrop to like ratchet up the tension and just meet a collection of people who you just don't see in film. And I don't mean like demographically, just like weird looking people. Just like
people who look like actual people.
Bizarre looking, well, actually, you're right, normal looking human beings.
Like they do in Britain.
But when they're on screen, sure. That's a funny looking country. But when you see them on screen, my feud against the British is long term.
I was about to say,
let me roll that back by also saying that I also watched the second season of Killing Eve with a lot of gorgeous looking UK denizens, and it's just as good for me as the first season.
Some of Spencer's favorite shows are British.
Touche. This is America.
Learn to speak English instead of British.
Well, speaking of a British thing that I watched, y'all, I saw Cats twice in theaters. I saw the original version, Cats version 1 with where all the heads, like the faces seemed to float off the heads, and some cats who were not supposed to have on shoes suddenly had on shoes and then didn't have on shoes, and you can see like little cat sleeves on everyone. It was amazing. And then I went and saw the patched version, and it made no difference. It was just like they put an Instagram filter on it. Even still, like some of like it'd be a cat paw and then like weird human fingers. It's amazing. It is a fever dream. It is hilarious. I suggest if there is a rowdy screening where you are that you go see Cats. I'm definitely seeing it at least one more time before it leaves theaters. It's the only thing I ever want to talk about for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I actually, on my birthday, I chose to go take Mara to see Cats. She was not feeling well, and I was like, "Can we please at least?"
Do you want to feel worse?
Yeah. We walked into the movie, and she was like, "This movie's either gonna make me feel better or worse." And then we were leaving. She said, "I think that movie killed me." I got a little tipsy on her heinously overpriced Star Wars novelty drinks at an AMC bar, and went to see Cats, which I think is the perfect pre-Cats activity, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an experience. I actually don't watch a lot over the break. That's sort of my decompress mode. I took some screeners home, watched Jojo Rabbit with my mom, and then we watched Yesterday. I'd never seen Yesterday, so I caught up. I also tried to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, it is cute.
It's all right, it's cute. And then we started watching Chernobyl. This is how far backlogged we are. Mara and I, we have one episode left, and started watching Chernobyl, which is great.
I love that. I mean, it's hard, but
it's difficult. Yeah, but that's the thing is like we never. It's so good, but we finished one episode and we're like, "You want to watch another one?" We're like, "No,
not one." That was one where I was definitely like, "Thank goodness this comes on once a week," because if that was one that was on streaming and you were binging it, that's a bad day.
You mentioned something along those lines. Dan, you said watching one episode was like way enough.
Yeah.
That new Dracula joint on Netflix. Dude, I know if you guys haven't seen it, we were watching it as sort of a decompress, like the kids that went to sleep and we were all on the couch and just gonna watch some stuff. And that is freaky, dude. You don't think you want to see Dr. Acula's stupid ass story again? You just don't think you want to. It's like,
is his name really Dr. Acula?
No, Dracula. But Dracula sucks. All right, I'm sorry. It's one of the old myths that sucks. Vampires are goofy. They're dumb. I'm sorry.
Metaphor, Ed.
Metaphor for a lot of things. Dude, trust me, I get the metaphor. I come from people who get it a lot. But I'm just saying, this is something vampirism. Take everybody's everything. Suck it out of them. Ooh, I get it, brother. I get it. But
that was about sex.
No, it's not. And this one, it shows you what the real metaphor is, which is the vampires steal your culture. They steal things from you through your blood.
Cultural appropriation via blood?
Yes. Yes, that's a major thing.
Stop appropriating vampire culture.
Vampires are the appropriators. It's. I'm telling you, it's really interesting. And you think you don't want to see Dracula turn into a wolf. You don't think you want to see this weird magic. You don't think you want to see any of that stuff. I'm telling you, I wish I could know the authors who did this. They did something really cool, like a Fargo type of show, some really idiosyncratic, truly one vision show, and they brought this vision to Dracula and they made it cool. It's more impressive than what they did with The Mandalorian, which was super impressive.
All right.
Like, it's a retelling of the Dracula thing that you almost need to see. And it's like an updating, but keeps it with the old school stuff. I can't rave about it enough.
What's it called?
Like, Dr. Acula, dude.
I can't watch Dr. Acula.
No, the Dracula show. Yeah, just call it. It's called Dracula, and it's on Netflix.
Just Dracula.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's
I've been loving it.
And it's got like, I think like only 4 episodes. You know, it's a miniseries. I am telling you, it's good. Don't let me being mean to your favorite franchise put you off of watching this thing, because like I said, I am mean to everything that's super old like that. I don't want to watch Tarzan anymore. I don't want to watch some of these old school goofy ass myths from imperialist dorks. I just don't want to watch that anymore. But boy, Dracula really turns it on its head and makes it a cool, interesting thing. So I would encourage you to watch it. But it's freakier than you think, and it's scarier than you think.
Isn't there a Dr. Acula type series called Nosferatu, but it's like Nos and then the number 4, and then like the at symbol, and then the number 2 or something?
Yeah. Dr. Acula is also from Scrubs. Dr.
Acula, I believe, originated with Mitch Hedberg, because he's like, I went to a doctor, he sucked all my blood out. Never go see Dr. Acula.
That's right.
R.I.P.
Mitch
Hedberg. All righty, that brings us to the end of this episode. Ed, where can the people find you?
Ed Greer Destroys on Twitter and on Instagram, where I do some drawings and things, and Nerd Goat Podcast and Reboot It Podcast. Both of those, we just sort of we monkey around with stuff. We play with the toys. And on Nerd Goat, we just talk to people about their favorite fictional characters. I've had Dan on to do Chief Brody from Jaws, the shirt he's wearing right now. It's a banner episode in the Bender household, and we had Coy Jandreau come on. We had Hector Navarro come on and do Iron Man. It's just, if you want to see some of your favorite people, and some of the people you don't even know are your favorites yet, we had Oscar winner Charlie Wachtel come on and talk about Jerry Maguire. We're coming up.
What did he win an Oscar?
Black Klansman.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Follow us on Twitter at Screen Junkies U. There was a new episode of Charting with Dan yesterday, so if you haven't checked that out yet, check that out. Thank you all so much for joining us. We love your faces, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.